right, hey guys, this is Avera. This is another Ask Avera episode. Today, I'm going to answer the question, am I going to marry a gay man? I just really like that question. Okay, so I recently, at the time that we're filming this, I recently did a speaking engagement in Baton Rouge where I spoke to about 60 high school students, just telling them a little bit about my story. I remember one of the kids who was like sitting all the way in the back. He asked me something that I thought was actually really, really good, because I had brought up the fact that I still want to be married in my talk. And he asked me, if you plan on being married, does your husband have to be gay too? And then if you're not sexually attracted to men, how is that going to work? So I think it was a really, really good question. I really want to answer this because I feel like when I tell people that I still want to be married, it leaves a lot of people scratching their heads. They're just like, but you're not sexually attracted to men. So like, how is that going to work? So I really want to take the time to like deep dive into that question and answer that, not only for him, but for the rest of you guys. So my husband does not have to experience same-sex attractions as well. However, if he does, I think it would kind of give us some really good insight onto each other's struggles. Because again, I talked about in a previous episode about friendships, having friends who have same-sex attractions as well is super important, because we're able to not just sympathize with each other, but empathize. We're able to know how the other person is experiencing all that they're experiencing, what they're feeling, and different things like that. So I think it would be interesting, and honestly would probably be pretty practical to have a husband who experiences that to some degree. It's not something that is completely overwhelming to me, and there's still some attraction to men there, and I would hope that he is somewhat still attracted to me. But if he does, it wouldn't be something where I was just like, oh, absolutely not. It'd be something that I think that we would have to actively discern if we're called to be married to each other. But no, he does not have to have same-sex attractions. I will say that if my husband doesn't have same-sex attractions, I would have to marry someone who is very secure in who he is as a man. And I say this because there might be times when, even in our dating relationship or even married, that I'm just not all that sexually attracted to him. But that doesn't mean that I'm not attracted to him as a person. And I think it might be difficult, but again, that's why I'm saying he has to be so secure in who he is as a man. And also, I would hope that he loves God significantly more than he loves me, because he's not going to put that much pressure, at least on me, or even on himself, to satisfy me sexually, or to, he's not going to, because I don't want to have sex a certain night or something like that. He's not going to say, well, she must not be attracted to me, or he can't internalize that, because it really isn't about him. So he has to be so secure, not only in his relationship with God, but who he is as a man. And he has to know that I care deeply about who he is as a man. And just because my sexual desire might not be at a certain level that he might have expected going into it, I would just hope that he is still happy with me, because we're in love with each other as people, not the feelings that we get when we are sexually active with each other, or things like that, if that makes sense. The second part of that is, he asked, if I'm not sexually attracted to men, how is that going to work? So I think this is pretty funny, but so I do find myself attracted to men. I think it's just more of an emotional attraction than it is a physical one. So with women, it's definitely both emotional and physical, but for men, it's just mostly emotional. But I think that I can be married to a man because I think that sexual attraction, and this goes for really anyone, I think sexual attraction is something that grows when I get to know him as a person. I think that I'm going to be, or those sexual attractions will develop, and that desire for him will come when I get to know him as a person. And I find that who he is what I'm drawn to, not what he does for me, not maybe he covers up some insecurities that I have, or, you know, different things like that. I don't want him to be anything that he's not, just to satisfy me in any way. And I think once I end up falling for who he is as a man, that sexual attraction will grow over time. I think, I forget where I read this or heard this, but the best way that I have heard sexual relations described is saying that the marital act, sex, is the two people saying or repeating their marriage vows in the language of their body. So if I'm willing to be on the altar and say my marriage vows to this man, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to want to repeat those vows to him physically in the language of my body. And I just have to, if I'm willing to marry him, then I know that I'm going to be willing to engage in the marital embrace with him. And that really encompasses all of married life, you know, not just sex. I want to really be in love with who he is as a person, and know that he loves me as a person. And that, you know, that is a love that I think has to be chosen, and it has to be chosen repeatedly. So I have to wake up every morning and choose to love him. You know, there will be a time when the feelings fade, when I just don't feel like being intimate that day, or, you know, I just don't feel like dealing with him after he's left the toilet seat up for the millionth time, you know, just different things like that. I have to actively make that choice to love him. And I haven't found a guy that I want to make that choice for yet. But if it's something that God has in his design for me, then I'm super excited about being married, and I'm not feeling forced into it. Nobody's telling me that I have to be married. But I really think that I would love to. So thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you don't already follow me on social media, be sure to do that down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next Wednesday with another new video. Bye.